There have been times in my life when I felt broken or powerless, and now I see upon reflecting back on those situations that I took a very passive role and held the hope that someone else would rescue me from the pain or the circumstances. Even going back to when I was a teenager, dealing with the difficult emotions when my parents were fighting and proceeded with a divorce, I looked outside of myself for love and belonging. I didn't have the knowledge or skills at that time to understand that I could take control of my feelings and circumstances. To a degree, as a kid, you kind of are reliant upon the adults in your life. But that pattern of passivity stayed with me. I had the hope that someone else would swoop in and save me from my circumstances. Whether it was the hope for an opportunity or to be rescued from emotional pain, more often than not, I looked outside of myself for help instead of creating the opportunity or creating the solution. Hi, I'm Patty Blue Hayes, author, coach, and your guide to blossoming beyond heartbreak and cultivating hope as you sow the seeds of healing. What I learned the hard way is that no one is coming to rescue me. It is my responsibility to pick myself up. It's my responsibility to gather resources to use as guides, not expect them to be magic cure-alls. I'm the one who has to make the decision to make a change. Of course, all of this is easy in hindsight. I can look back from my perspective today with the wisdom I've gained, but in those moments, I didn't know then what I know now. My hope is that by sharing this with you, you'll realize that you have to take action if you want your life experience to be different. We often feel like the current state will be permanent. We feel heartbroken after a breakup and believe we'll never be happy again. A parent dies and we are consumed with grief and think we'll never get over it. Or we have to part with a sick pet and vow we'll never have an animal again because it's too painful. We might not know how to facilitate the internal changes, and so we slip into wishful thinking that something external will come along and make it all better. I'd like to suggest that instead of spending that time in passive wishful thinking, spend the time making inquiries into your current state and consider how you'd like to feel instead. There are an incredible amount of free resources available at our fingertips online. As an example, I typed into Google, "How do I get over feeling lonely?" and pages upon pages of results popped up. If I absorbed a fraction of the material, there would be at least a few insights I'd have that would give me some new perspective or action to take. Perhaps a place to start is by reading about developing autonomy and self-reliance. Please help me continue to create these videos by subscribing to my channel if you find this content valuable. There were times in my healing journey that I had to trust the instinctual drive to survive when I took tremendous leaps of faith. During the divorce, I didn't want to leave my home that had been what I considered my dream home when I was married. At that time in my life when everything was in upheaval, I just wanted to stay home. I wanted the safety of my nest. But financial circumstances made it clear that I could not afford to keep the house on my own. It was an incredibly painful decision, but I made the choice to move out of the area and relocate to a small town a few hours away. I knew no one there. That move was incredibly difficult for me. To part with the belongings, the memories, the attachment to my home, the life I had. Compare that to the move I made in 2019 to live in Panama. I was excited. I knew no one here in Panama. Of course, there were some fears that I tried to reframe as excitement, and for the most part, that worked. But I had changed so much since the person I was, and that is what made the experience completely different. So it's normal and okay if you're feeling scared and powerless. Just know that this is a growth journey and you're in the driver's seat. While there's a part of you who may be feeling like, what's the point? Nothing is going to change. By human design, there's another part of you who instinctually is programmed to survive. That's the part you want to tune into. You've got to override the passive victim mode and give more authority to the part of you who does want to change. Become stubbornly defiant in your quest to heal instead of being attached to the blame game and victim role. No one is coming to rescue you. You have to be your own rescuer. And as hard as that may be to generate the energy to do that, you will be rewarded with new energy to keep you sustained through the journey. It's not easy, and it's not without its times of extreme and intense emotions. For a few weeks, I've been watching baby birds in a nest of a palm tree in my front yard. They were nurtured, fed, and sheltered by Mama and Papa. Then they got bigger and were perched on the edge of the nest. They had to take that first flight from the safety of the nest. For animals, it's instinctual for them to do this. But as I stood and watched the 3 baby birds, I imagined how terrified I'd be to flap my wings and trust that I wouldn't torpedo into the ground. So just like that little fluffy bird, perched on the edge of the safety of the only nest it's ever known, you have the instinctual drive to spread your wings and fly. Nature is such an amazing teacher. Remember, you're on a journey of healing and transformation. The seed does not become a blossom overnight.